The screech of tires tore through the night like a scream that never ended. Rain hammered the windshield of the old Chevy pickup as it hydroplaned across the slick blacktop of I-94, just outside Chicago's glittering sprawl. Taylor Swift, no. Not that Taylor. Just plain Taylor Hayes. 28 and stubborn as the Windy City's gales, gripped the wheel. Her knuckles white, whispering a curse under her breath as the headlights caught the deer frozen in the road. "Shit, hold on. Baby," she muttered to the empty passenger seat, where a half-eaten bag of White Castle sliders sat forgotten. But it wasn't empty in her mind. Alex's laughter echoed there, from earlier that evening, her voice like warm bourbon cutting through the chill of their latest fight. The truck fishtailed, the world tilting sideways in a blur of chrome and crimson taillights. And then impact. Metal crumpled like paper. Glass shattered into 1,000 accusing shards. And Taylor's last conscious thought was Alex's face, fierce and beautiful, mouthing "I love you" before the darkness swallowed her whole. In the sterile hum of Northwestern Memorial Hospital, "Dear." Elena Vasquez leaned over the chart, her pen scratching notes that felt like indictments. Amnesia. Retrograde. She's lost the last 5 years. Maybe more. Concussion from the rollover. Internal bruising. But she'll pull through physically. The words landed heavy in the room, where Alex Rivera stood frozen, her locks tied back in a hasty bun, still wearing the faded Blackhawks hoodie Taylor had stolen from her closet months ago. 30. Alex carried the weight of the world in her broad shoulders, bartender by night, aspiring graphic novelist by the stolen hours of dawn, but right now, she looked like a woman who'd been gut-punched by fate itself. 5 years. Alex's voice cracked, low and ragged, like gravel under boot heels. She'd been the one to get the call at 2 a.m., her phone buzzing on the scarred oak bar of the Rusty Anchor in Wicker Park, where she'd been pouring drafts for the after-hours crowd. Rushing through the storm-slick streets, she'd arrived just as they wheeled Taylor in, blood-streaked and broken, her flannel shirt torn open by paramedics. Now, in this beige purgatory of beeps and bleach, Alex reached for Taylor's hand, small, callous from years of hauling lumber on construction sites, now limp and veined with 4 lines. Taylor's eyes fluttered open then, green as the Irish sea her grandmother swore ran in the family blood. Confusion clouded them first, then sharpened into something primal, a spark that made Alex's heart stutter. "Who?" Taylor rasped, her throat raw from the tube they pulled hours ago. She scanned the room, the monitors, the wilting poinsettia from the nurse's station, the woman holding her hand like it was the only anchor in a storm. "It's me," Alex said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Alex. Your roommate." The lie tasted like ash. Roommate? After 3 years of tangled sheets and whispered promises, of road trips to the dunes of Indiana and lazy Sundays sketching tattoo ideas on each other's skin? But the doctor had warned her, no pushing memories. Let them surface like bubbles in flat beer. Taylor's brow furrowed, a familiar crease that Alex ached to smooth with her thumb. Then, in a voice so soft it barely stirred the air, Taylor breathed. "Alex." Not a question, not a plea, just her name, laced with a tenderness that pierced straight through the fog of forgotten yesterdays. Alex's breath hitched. She squeezed Taylor's hand tighter, ignoring the fresh sting of tears. "Yeah, baby. I'm here." The days blurred into a hazy routine, the kind that Chicago winter specialized in. Gray skies pressing down on the lakefront, wind howling off Lake Michigan like a jilted lover. Taylor's recovery was a battlefield, physical therapy in the hospital gym, where she'd curse through the pain of relearning her gait, her left leg pinned with rods from the crash, sessions with a neurologist who poked at her brain like it was a faulty engine, and endless afternoons with Alex, who showed up every shift without fail, armed with contraband Starbucks lattes and dog-eared copies of the Bell Jar, because Taylor used to devour Plath like comfort food. But the gaps in Taylor's memory were chasms, swallowing whole chapters of their life. She remembered her childhood in the Rust Belt suburbs of Gary, Indiana, her dad's calloused hands teaching her to swing a hammer, her mom's meatloaf Fridays that masked the bruises from his bar fights. She recalled coming out at 19. The shatter of her evangelical aunt's Waterford vase against the kitchen wall. The exile that followed. But Alex, their first meeting at a dive bar poetry slam in Pilsen, where Taylor had heckled Alex's raw verses about lost queer kids in the projects until Alex dragged her on stage for an impromptu duet. Gone. The night they moved in together. Boxes of vinyl records and half-dead succulents cluttering the third-floor walk-up in Logan Square. Sealing it with a kiss that tasted like cheap Chianti and forever? Erased. "You're staring," Taylor said one afternoon. Propped up in bed with a tray of Jell-O she poked at listlessly. Sunlight slanted through the blinds, gilding her freckles like scattered cinnamon. She was regaining color, her sharp jawline softening under the hospital's forced rest. But her eyes held that haunted edge, like she was piecing together a puzzle with half the pieces missing. Alex blinked. Caught. "Can't help it. You've got that look. Like you're about to quote Springsteen or start a revolution." A ghost of a smile tugged at Taylor's lips. "Springsteen? Sounds like me." She paused, tilting her head. "Tell me something real. About us. I mean, about me before this." Her voice dipped, vulnerable in a way that twisted Alex's gut. Taylor had always been the fierce one, the builder who framed houses by day and dreamed of flipping fixer-uppers into queer safe havens by night. Now, she was adrift, grasping for lines. Alex hesitated, then slid onto the bed's edge, her thigh brushing Taylor's under the thin blanket. The contact sent a jolt through her, electric as the first time. "You love storms," she started, voice steadying. "Not just watching 'em, the chaos. Last summer, we drove out to Starved Rock, and this nor'easter rolled in off the lake. Everyone else hunkered down. But you grabbed my hand, pulled me into the rain, spinning like idiots until we were soaked and laughing. Said it reminded you of being alive." Taylor's fingers twitched in hers, a subconscious curl. "That sounds right. God, I wish I could remember." Her eyes searched Alex's face, lingering on the scar above her eyebrow from a bar fight in her 20s, the dimple that only flashed when she was truly unguarded. "You feel familiar. Like a song I know the melody to but can't place the words." In those moments, hope flickered, fragile as the first crocus pushing through snow. But doubt gnawed at Alex like the rats in the alley behind their building. What if Taylor never remembered? What if this half-life, this polite affection, was all they had left? And worse, the secret she buried deep. The one that had sparked their last fight before the crash. The letter from her ex, Marcus, tucked in her glove compartment, begging for one last chance at the family she'd walked away from for Taylor. She'd burned it that night, ashes scattering in the wind off the Adler Planetarium. But the guilt lingered, a shadow on their love. Nights were the hardest. Alex would crash in the vinyl armchair by Taylor's bed, dozing to the rhythm of monitors, waking to nightmares of the truck's twisted frame, the deer's glassy eyes reflecting her own regrets. One such dawn, as the city stirred with the rumble of L trains, Taylor woke gasping, her hand clutching Alex's like a lifeline. "Alex," she whispered again. Not in question this time, but in fevered certainty. Sweat beaded her forehead, her chest heaving. "Alex. Don't leave me." "I'm not," Alex murmured, stroking her hair. The words a vow she clung to even as fear whispered otherwise. Never. But the real storm was brewing beyond the hospital walls. Taylor's family, distant ghosts from Gary, had finally surfaced. Her brother Jake arriving with his wife and their two towhead kids in tow. All Midwestern politeness masking the judgment Alex knew too well. Jake, broad-shouldered like their old man, clapped Taylor on the back too hard during visiting hours, his eyes sliding over Alex with the chill of unspoken accusations. "Glad you're pulling through, sis," he said, voice booming. "Mom sends her love, says to get back on your feet. Find a nice guy to settle down with." The words hung, a grenade with the pin half pulled. Taylor frowned, glancing at Alex. "A guy? No. That ain't me." The instinct was there, buried deep, a defiance that made Alex's heart swell. But Jake's laugh was forced, his gaze lingering too long on the rainbow pin on Alex's backpack. "Whatever you say. Just don't rush things. Memory'll come back. Or it won't. Either way, family's what matters." Alex bit her tongue until it bled, excusing herself to the hallway where she lit a cigarette in the rain, the smoke curling like unanswered prayers. Family. What a loaded word in America. Land of the fractured and the free. For Alex, daughter of a deported father and a mother who drunk herself into oblivion after, family had always been the one she chose, Taylor chief among them. But choice had consequences, and as Taylor's fragments knit back together, Alex wondered if she'd chosen wrong. By week's end, Taylor was discharged, hobbling into their Logan Square apartment on a borrowed crutch, the space feeling both sanctuary and stranger. Bucktown brownstones lined the street, hipsters with man buns dodging potholes, the air thick with the scent of deep dish from Giordano's wafting on the breeze. Inside, the place was a time capsule, Taylor's tool belt slung over the kitchen chair, Alex's sketchpads piled on the coffee table amid half-finished murals of fierce women warriors. Posters of Audre Lorde and Frida Kahlo watched over them, silent witnesses. "Home," Taylor breathed, sinking onto the sagging couch, her eyes tracing the familiar unfamiliar lines. Alex helped her settle, fluffing pillows, fetching water, every gesture laced with the ache of what was lost. That night, as thunder rumbled distant over the lake, they lay side by side in the queen bed that suddenly felt vast. Taylor turned, her breath warm against Alex's neck. "Tell me we were good together." "Before." Alex swallowed, the truth a lump in her throat. "We were fire, Taylor. The kind that warms you through winter, but burns if you get too close." Taylor's hand found hers in the dark, fingers interlacing like they remembered what her mind couldn't. "Then show me." The kiss was tentative at first, a question posed in the press of lips, soft, searching, tasting of salt and second chances. Alex pulled back, eyes searching Taylor's for regret, but found only hunger, raw and real. They moved slowly, rediscovering curves and size, Taylor's callous palms mapping Alex's hips like blueprints for a house yet to build. It was messy, emotional, tears mingling with moans, bodies speaking the language their words fumbled. In the afterglow, tangled in sheets that smelled of lavender detergent and old loves, Taylor whispered, "I think I'm falling for you." Again, Alex held her close, heart pounding, but the secret clawed at her insides. The letter from Marcus wasn't just words, it was a crack in their foundation. One Taylor had glimpsed in the cab that rainy night, accusing her of hiding pieces of herself. "We're in this or we're not," Taylor had yelled, storming out to drive off her demons. If the crash had stolen her memories, would the truth steal this fragile rebuilding? As sleep claimed Taylor, Alex stared at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, the city's pulse thrumming below. Chicago never slept. And neither, seemed, did love's ghosts. Weeks bled into months, the calendar flipping to a brittle March where the lakefront winds cut like accusations. Taylor's rehab was a grind, mornings at the PT center in Ukrainian village, afternoons pounding nails on job sites her foreman buddy Raoul snuck her onto. Light duty only. She moved through the days like a woman half-haunted, piecing together her life from Polaroids Alex unearthed from shoeboxes, them at Pride in Boys Town, rainbow flags whipping in the summer heat, Taylor hoisting Alex onto her shoulders for a better view of the floats, a grainy shot from their first anniversary, candlelit pasta in their kitchen, Alex's locks adorned with tiny daisies Taylor had woven in after a farmer's market run. Each photo sparked flickers, emotions without anchors, like déjà vu in reverse. "We look happy," Taylor said one evening, tracing the curve of Alex's smile in a pic from a Lakeview bonfire, where they danced barefoot to Fleetwood Mac until dawn. But happiness was a tightrope now, and Taylor's family loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon. Jake's visits escalated from awkward check-ins to full-on interventions. He'd roll up in his F-150, kids in tow, bearing Tupperware of his wife's pierogies and lectures wrapped in concern. "Sis, you're looking peaked," he'd say, eyeing the crutch propped by the door. "And this situation," his nod toward Alex, pouring coffee in the galley kitchen, was subtle as a sledgehammer. "Mom's worried. Says it's time to come home. Sort yourself out. Church folks miss you." Taylor's jaw set, that old fire flaring. "Church? The same one that disowned me for kissing a girl in the parking lot at 16? Pass." But doubt crept in, insidious as Midwest damp. Late at night, she'd wake sweating, fragments surfacing, not just Alex, but the crash's prelude, their blowout in the truck. Words hurled like shrapnel. "You're still running from him, aren't you?" Taylor's voice echoed in her mind, accusatory, aimed at the shadow of Marcus, Alex's ex-fiancé, the golden boy from her Englewood upbringing who'd proposed with a ring that felt like chains. Alex felt the shift. The way Taylor's touches grew hesitant, her questions sharper. "Who's Marcus?" she'd ask over takeout from Lao Zichuan. Chopsticks paused mid-air, as like lasers. Alex's stomach would drop, but she'd deflect with a grin. "Old ghost. Bartending war stories, guy who tipped in Bible verses, lies stacked like bricks, building a wall she prayed wouldn't topple." But guilt festered, especially when Taylor's memories teased at the edges. A flash of Alex's phone lighting up with Marcus's name during a double date at the violet hour. The jealousy that had simmered into their final fight. Their reconnection deepened in stolen pockets, lazy afternoons in Humboldt Park, sprawled on picnic blankets amid Tacarius and street murals, Alex sketching Taylor's profile against the skyline, her pencil capturing the stubborn tilt of her chin. "You're my muse," Alex murmured once, as Taylor fed her bites of elote, corn kernels sticking to her lips. And you're my anchor, Taylor replied, leaning in for a kiss that tasted of lime and longing. Sex became their bridge. Fervent and forgiving. Nights where Taylor's hands roamed Alex's body like rediscovering home. Her mouth tracing the tattoo on Alex's collarbone. A delicate line of poetry inked after their first I love you. We were never meant to survive. But romance couldn't outrun reality. Alex's shifts at the rusty anchor stretched longer. The dive's dim lights and jukebox blues a refuge from the tension coiling at home. One sticky April night, as she slung Manhattans to a rowdy bachelorette party, her phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. Heard about the accident. Coffee, for old times. She deleted it, but the echo lingered. Marcus wasn't just an ex, he was the what if. The path not taken, the stable accountant who'd begged her to leave the lifestyle behind, to build a life in the suburbs with 2.5 kids and a minivan. Taylor had been the wildfire that upended it all. But after the crash, with memories frayed, Alex wondered if stability was the betrayal Taylor sensed. The breaking point came on a humid May evening, the kind where the air hung heavy with the promise of thunder. Taylor had a breakthrough that afternoon, a full recall of their proposal. Impromptu on a rooftop in Wrigleyville after a Cubs win. Alex on one knee with a ring pop and vows scribbled on a napkin. Marry me. The ink had smeared. But Taylor's yes had been etched in eternity. High on the memory, she surprised Alex at the bar, hobbling in on her now discarded crutch. A bouquet of wildflowers pilfered from the median strip. Date night, she announced, sliding onto a stool, her grin lighting the smoky haze. Alex's heart soared, then plummeted. Marcus was there, at a corner booth, nursing a whiskey, his button-down crisp as his intentions. He'd cornered her during break. All earnest eyes and I miss us. Lex. She's not you, wait. She is you now. The confusion. The pity it had cracked her facade. Now, as Taylor chattered about the memory search, Alex's hand shook pouring her a ginger ale. Babe, let's get out of here. Tie on the way home. But Taylor's gaze sharpened, flicking to Marcus, who stared openly, his face a mask of recognition and regret. Who's that? She asked, voice low, the hook of suspicion sinking deep. An old regular, Alex lied. But her eyes betrayed her, flickering guilt, the weight of unspoken truths. Marcus rose then, ever the gentleman, approaching with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Taylor. Right? Alex has told me. Well, everything. His handshake was firm. His glance at Alex loaded with history. Taylor pulled back, the flowers wilting in her fist. Everything? Like what? The bar's din faded, the world narrowing to this triangle of tension. In the cab ride home, silence was a third passenger, heavy as the humidity. Taylor stared out at the blurring lights of Milwaukee Avenue, her profile carved in shadow. You know him. Biblically, Alex's laugh was brittle. X. Ancient history. Before you. Before me, Taylor echoed, tasting the words. But after that fight, the one I half remember, it was about him. Wasn't it? You got a message. I saw the name. You said it was nothing. But it wasn't. Alex's resolve crumbled. He reached out. After the crash. Wanted to check on you, on us. I told him to fuck off. Liar. The word landed like a slap. Taylor's eyes blazed. Memories cascading now in a torrent, the letter. the ashes, the accusation of divided hearts. You kept it from me then. And you're keeping something now. If you loved me, why hide? Because I was scared. Alex exploded, voice raw in the confined space. The driver glanced back, but she barreled on. Scared you'd think I regretted choosing you. Marcus was safe. Taylor white picket fence. His family's approval. You? You're chaos and construction dust and queer as fuck. And I chose you every damn day. But after the accident, when you forgot, I didn't want to lose the us we were rebuilding. The cab pulled up to their building. Rain starting in fat. Punishing drops. Taylor flung bills at the driver. Storming out. Alex scrambling after. Up the stairs. The fight spilled like oil, accusations flying. Hurts unearthed. You betrayed me by not trusting me with the truth, Taylor shouted, slamming the door to their bedroom. Alex pounded on it, tears streaming. And you betrayed us by doubting before I could explain. I burned that letter for you. Silence. Then a sob from the other side. I remember now. All of it. The crash. I drove off mad because I thought you were slipping away. And now? Feels like I was right. The door cracked open. Taylor's face streaked. Eyes red-rimmed. Do you still love him? Alex stepped close, cupping her face, thumbs brushing tears. No. I love you. Fiercely. Faults and all. They collapsed together on the threshold, bodies racked with cries that shook the floorboards. It was betrayal laid bare. The conflict that had simmered now boiled over, scalding them both. But in the wreckage, something shifted, a raw honesty, the kind that forges steel from shattered glass. Outside, the storm broke fully, lightning cracking over the city like a divine apology. Inside, they held on, whispering names into the dark. Taylor. Alex, vows renewed in the thunder's roar. Yet dawn brought no easy peace. Taylor woke with the full weight of recall crashing down. Not just love, but the fractures. Their fights over Alex's freelance gigs that paid in ramen. Taylor's dreams of buying a brownstone deferred by medical bills piling like snowdrifts. And Marcus's shadow. Not just an ex, but a symbol of the world's pressure, the heteronormative grind that whispered queer love was a phase. A risk not worth the fall. I need space, Taylor said over coffee. Voice steady but eyes pleading. To sort this. Us. Alex nodded. Throat tight. Take it. I'll be here. But space in Chicago felt like exile. Taylor crashed with Raoul in his Albany Park walk-up, throwing herself into work, framing walls for a co-op in Uptown. The hammers swing a rhythm to drown doubts. Alex buried in sketches. Her novel's heroines fiercer now, inked with Taylor's fire. Weeks stretched. Text sparse. Miss you. Working late. Love the new page. Thinking of you. The climax brewed on a sweltering June solstice. Pride weekend pulsing through the streets like a heartbeat. Boys Town thrummed with glitter and bass. Rainbow crosswalks slick with spilled beer. Alex wandered Halstead in a throng of bodies, dykes in leather, trans folks in gowns, allies waving flags like surrender. She hadn't planned to go, but solitude stung worse than the crowd. Then, there, under the Aragon Ballroom's marquee, Taylor stood with a cluster of construction crew. Her auburn hair sun-bleached, flannel tied around her waist over a tank that hugged her rebuilt strength. Their eyes met across the sea of revelers, a current pulling taut. Taylor broke first, weaving through, stopping inches away. You came. Couldn't not, Alex said, voice lost in the techno throb. It's our holiday. Ours. The word hung. Laden. Taylor's hand brushed Alex's. Tentative. I remembered the rest last week. The proposal. The fight. How you held me after my aunt's funeral. When no one else would. Alex's chest ached. And I get it now. The fear. Mine too. Scared you'd wake up one day and choose easy. Taylor's voice cracked. The crowd fading to blur. But love isn't easy. Real. American as fuck. Alex laughed. Tears pricking. Damn right. They kissed then. Fierce in public. Cheers erupting around them like fireworks. But betrayal's echo lingered. Trust was a rebuild. Blanc by blanc. Summer unfurled in Chicago's full glory. Lake breezes chasing humidity. Fireworks blooming over Navy Pier. The city a lover's quarrel turned embrace. Taylor and Alex navigated the rebuild with cautious grace. Therapy sessions in a cozy Wicker Park office where a soft-spoken counselor named Priya unpacked the crash's metaphors. Amnesia as fresh start. Betrayal as the scar tissue that toughens. You're not defined by what was lost, Priya said. Her bangles chiming like wind chimes. But by what you choose to carry forward. They chose therapy dates after walks along the 606 trail, where elevated tracks bloomed with community gardens. Taylor's arm looped in Alex's, their steps sinking like old habit. Conversations flowed deeper now. Vulnerabilities aired like laundry on the line. Alex confessed the full Marcus saga, the engagement born of post-college panic. The wedding dress she tried on once. White lace choking like a noose. The night she called it off. Driving through Englewood rain to Taylor's door. Soaked and sobbing. I can't pretend anymore. Taylor, listen. Her grip tightening. You chose me then. Choose me still. Every dawn, Alex vowed. Sealing it with a kiss under a canopy of honey locusts. Work steadied them. Taylor promoted to site supervisor on a queer youth center in Rogers Park. Her designs incorporating safe spaces, quiet rooms with weighted blankets, murals by local trans artists. Building homes, she'd say. Smudged with sawdust. For the kids we used to be. Alex's novel inched toward completion. A semi-autobiographical tale of two women crashing through life's intersections. Agent queries sent with held breath. But conflict simmered beneath the idol. Jake's pressure mounted. A phone call in late July shattering a rare quiet morning. Mom's sick. Tay. Cancer. Come home. Bring the family, real family. His voice brooked no argument. Laced with the old guilt trips. Taylor hung up. Face ashen. Pacing their kitchen amid the scent of brewing Folgers. He means you excluded. Like you're the phase. Alex set down her sketch pad. Heart sinking. And you? What do you mean? I mean, Taylor faltered. Green eyes stormy. I want to go. For Mom. But not without you. Prove to them, to me, what we are. The drive to Gary was a pilgrimage through Indiana's flatlands. Cornfields whispering secrets. The Chevy repaired. Scars like theirs eating miles. Tension crackled like static on the radio. Classic rock their uneasy soundtrack. Alex's palm sweated the wheel. Memories of her own family's fracture flashing. Her dad's ice raid. Her mom's vacant stare over bottles of old style. The Hayes house was a squat rancher on a cul-de-sac. American flags limp in the heat. Lawn gnomes guarding flower beds wilting under neglect. Mom Lillian met them on the porch. Chemo thin in a housecoat. Her hug for Taylor fierce. Her nod to Alex cool as well water. Heard about the accident. Tough break. Inside. The living room was a shrine to normalcy. Cross-stitch samplers preaching home is where the heart is. Jake's kids' crayon drawings pinned to the fridge. Dinner was pot roast and awkward silences. Jake's wife Sarah chirping about PDA fundraisers. Eyes sliding past Alex's locks like she was furniture. As fireflies danced in the yard, Lillian pulled Taylor aside on the glider swing. Alex lingered by the screen door. Eavesdropping unintentional but inevitable. She's different, Lillian said. Voice frail. After what happened with your cousin Becca. Mom. Stop. Taylor's tone was steel-wrapped in plea. Alex isn't Becca. That was kid stuff. Experimentation. This is real. Deeper than Dad ever was to you. Silence. Then a sigh. I just want you happy. Pigeon. Safe. Safe's a cage, Taylor shot back. Love's the key. Alex slipped away then. To the backyard where Jake nursed a beer by the grill. Coals dying to embers. You got a light? He asked. Gruff but not unkind. She handed him her Zippo. Etched with a tiny heart Taylor's doing. He lit up. Exhaling smoke rings. She talks about you. Even before the crash. Said you make her brave. Alex's throat tightened. She's the brave one. Always has been. He nodded. Slow. Maybe. But family's blood. Alex. Don't break her more than life's already tried. The words landed like a gauntlet. That night. In the guest room's lumpy twin. Taylor and Alex curled close. Whispers cutting the dark. I stood up for us, Taylor murmured. Fingers tracing Alex's spine. Told her you're my future. And mine, Alex replied. But sleep evaded. Jake's warning a burr under her skin. The climax erupted the next dawn. As they packed to leave. Jake cornered them in the driveway. Coffee mug steaming. Face thunderous. Overheard you last night. Mom. Talking sense. He turned to Alex. Eyes hard. You waltz in. Playhouse. But what's your endgame? Taylor's got one shot at normal. Don't drag her down. Normal. Alex's laugh was sharp. Honed by years of barroom bullshit. Your normal's killing her. Jake. The pretending. The hiding. I love her fiercely. Out loud. That's my endgame. Taylor stepped forward. Crutch long gone. Stance unyielding. Back off. Bro. She's staying. We're leaving together. He deflated. Mug trembling. Mom's dying. We need you whole. I am whole, Taylor said. Taking Alex's hand. Interlacing fingers like rebar in concrete. Because of her. The drive back was cathartic. Windows down. Springsteen blasting Thunder Road. Wind whipping their hair. Tears dried to salt on cheeks. Laughter bubbling up release. Reckoning. But home brought its own tempest. Alex's agent called. The novel accepted for a small queer press. But with notes that stung. Too raw, the email read. Tone down the crash. Readers want hope. Not heartbreak. Alex slammed her laptop. Pacing their living room. The L train rumbling past like judgment. They want sanitized. Like our love's a fairy tale. Not the grit that makes it real. Taylor pulled her down. Onto the rug amid scattered sketches. Then write the grit. Our story, crash. Memory. Betrayal. All of it. Make him feel. In the quiet that followed, they made love slow and deliberate. Bodies a map of survival, scars from the wreck on Taylor's thigh kissed reverent. Alex's stretch marks from stress-eaten winters traced like constellations. We're enough, Taylor whispered. Climax cresting like a wave off the lake. Flawed and fierce. Autumn gilded the city in amber. Leaves crunching underfoot in Grant Park as they wandered post-book launch. Alex's novel. Whispers in the wreckage. A quiet hit in indie circles. Readers hailing its humanistic pulse. Taylor's youth center broke ground. Her name on the plaque. Taylor Hayes. Architect of tomorrows. But the true test came in November's chill. Lillian's final days. They drove back. This time united. Alex at Taylor's side in the hospice room, holding space as monitors beeped a dirge. Lillian, frail as tissue, beckoned Alex close. You make her eyes shine, she rasped, hand trembling in hers. Forgive an old fool? Nothing to forgive, Alex said, voice thick. Just grateful. Lillian passed at dawn. The room bathed in pink light off the steel mills. Taylor grieved raw, nights curled on the couch. Alex's arms her harbor. The funeral was a blur of casseroles and condolences. Jake's toast at the wake unexpectedly tender. To Taylor and Alex. Family's what you build. Not born into. Winter settled. Snow blanketing the city in hush. On Christmas Eve, under strings of lights in their apartment, now with a tiny tree adorned in ornaments from thrift shops and trips, they exchanged gifts. Taylor a leather-bound journal for Alex's next book. Alex a blueprint of their dream brownstone. Penciled with notes, safe space. Our forever. As midnight told, Taylor pulled Alex to the fire escape. City sprawl twinkling below. Remember the crash? She asked, breath fogging the air. Every scar, Alex replied. And after? When I whispered your name, Alex smiled, pulling her close. Knew you couldn't forget the best part. They kissed. Snowflakes melting on lashes. Love a quiet revolution against the cold. It wasn't flawless. No tidy bows on betrayal's wounds. No memories unscarred. But in America's vast, varied tapestry, their thread wove strong two women, crashed and risen, whispering names into the endless night. Humanistic in its close, no grand tragedy, but the profound grace of choosing again. Every dawn. For in the end, love wasn't the absence of loss, but the courage to rebuild from the rubble.